Hey guys, welcome to my podcast, Coming Clean. I'm your host, Kylie Lewis, and I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, welcome back, guys. So I'm here with Robyn Miller, and I brought you on the podcast for a few reasons, which I shared with you through text.
Yes.
So we could clarify. And I want to kind of start from maybe the beginning of us, and then you can backtrack to give us some insight into more of who you are, because I don't know everything.
No, I don't talk about everything.
Yeah, you do share a lot, which I love. I love your vulnerability, and you've been to basically every event that I offer, you've been to, which is amazing. So thank you. Of
course.
I would love to hear your perspective of where it started with us, right? So you came to my women's retreat, my first ever retreat that I had. So that was a first for me and for you.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the math last night, I think like 8 months ago. It's not super important exactly, but it was like around 8 months ago. So you've had time since then. And after that, you've been to my vision board workshop where we talk about creating your future, and we design like a dream board. And then recently you've been to 2 of my self-love workshops, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I got that all right.
Yeah, I think that covers it all.
Okay. And then we've also connected outside of those things on more of a personal level. Yeah. And you've recently taken quite a leap into putting yourself out there and starting a community on Facebook, which I'd love for you to dive into, and just like how that felt, how it came about, and why you did it, and what it's felt like as it's grown really fast, and all the things in between.
All the things.
Yeah. So let's start with the retreat, since that's where I first met you. Yeah. We had a mutual friend, which is how you found the retreat. But why did you want to come to a women's retreat? What were you seeking there?
I guess I would say myself, if anything. I remember I was probably pregnant at the time with my son, and I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, life is so good, you know, I've got this all figured out at, 27 years old? And but I also remember thinking that this isn't it. Something's going to change. Like, I'm going to look back a few months from now and realize that I am so far a different person, and I didn't know what it was going to be that switched. So I guess I was seeking, but not knowing where to start. And I think you were probably the first person that introduced me to the concept of waking up, or like that, me knowing that something was going to change was probably my conscious telling me, like, you have to do something more different because this isn't it. Like, it's so much better than just this. So when the opportunity came up for the retreat, ironically, my friend, she wanted, like, we were like, yeah, we could do this together, and she could not go. And that was great because it turned it into something just for me, and something I would never do on my own. But I took advantage of it, and I did it, and it was probably the best thing I could have done. I was struggling at the time with hormones and postpartum stuff. I don't know if I would call it a depression or not, because I think it was more everything that I have pushed down in the past was bubbling up, and it took the shift in myself of becoming me to mom me to let those things bubble up. So it was an interesting time, and that retreat, I would say, changed a lot in me. It wasn't one big drastic thing, like I'm a whole new person now, but it was the first time I think I was able to tap into my higher self, and it was the first time I was able to channel into something more. And then once I had that feeling, I just wanted more and more and more. As you know, I keep showing up. But it was great knowing that I had that ability and that everything lies within myself. And I would say that retreat is what made me snap into that. It was great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember you showing up, and And so when you came, I remember I started off by saying, I'm allergic to surface level conversations. Like, let's go deep. Mm-hmm. And so then you guys did, and you shared everything that was on your heart, and you were very real and vulnerable. And just to clarify for people listening, you weren't pregnant at the time.
No. Oh, right. Yeah, no. My son was probably, he was a few months, like 3 months old at the time, I think.
So that's your youngest.
That's my youngest. And then my daughter was around a little bit before 2, I think.
Okay. So you have 2 children,
yeah.
2 young children.
2 young children.
And you love them dearly.
Dearly.
And when you showed up to the retreat, I think what you expressed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you had kind of just lost yourself in motherhood, maybe, and being a new mom for the second time, right? Like having another child. I can't imagine, literally, because I'm not a mom. But that sense of like identity of who am I if, outside of just caring for these 2, and to take that time to come to a retreat for the whole day and to put your phone away and really just say, like, this time is for me, I think is so powerful. And I hope I acknowledged you for that while you were there, but I'm not sure.
You did.
Okay. Just because I know it's hard to do even when you're not a mom.
Yeah.
So that's like double kudos. And I remember at the retreat, there was a moment that, first of all, when your friend, our mutual friend Sheila, reached out to me, and I saw that you had applied, right? Because I had the retreat open, but it was I needed to have applications. And my boyfriend encouraged this because if it were me, I would just say, everybody can come. I want everyone at the retreat. Right. But it needed to be the right group. It needed to be people that are women that are ready to wake up or continue to wake up, that are willing to be vulnerable and let go of, or at least be willing to get curious around letting go of their story of victimhood that's keeping them locked in some type of way. And so when you applied and I read your application, instantly I could feel your genuine desire to grow and genuine desire to become the next best version of yourself. But I still wanted to ask Sheila, our mutual friend, because I'm like, I don't know this girl at all. I've never met you. And you're her best friend. So I was like, is she ready for this? And she was like, hands down, yes. And so that was really cool, just to know that your best friend was like, yes, absolutely, Robyn's ready. And when you showed up, I could feel that.
Yeah, I think I was ready. I just didn't know how to take the next step. I didn't know. All of this seemed very above me, I guess I could say. And so I needed an opportunity. I needed a push. And I went into that day with 0 expectations, because that's all this was simply a step for me. And it was I should have been nervous, but I wasn't, because that's how ready I felt. So it was a weird feeling for myself. I'm always nervous. So it was weird to be so calm about it. And like, I knew in that moment that's where I was meant to be that day.
Yeah, that's so good. Cool. Let's talk about that. If I'm sure you remember, I think for me as a facilitator of my first retreat, I didn't know how it would go, and I too didn't have a ton of expectations, because I didn't want to feel like this retreat has to change these women's lives. It's like you have one day, you can't do it all in one day. And I was hoping that someone or a few people would have at least like a couple of aha moments. And I remember, and you maybe were the only one that had an aha moment, but it
was a huge aha moment.
Yes. And like, just to set the stage for everyone listening or watching, we're sitting at a dining room table and there's 8 of us. And I talked about something which I'd love to hear from your perspective. And when it happened, I could literally feel your energy shift. And like, we were all just continuing the conversation, right? But then I look over at you and you were just like staring like zombied out. You were just like, and I'm like, wait a second, Robyn, what's happening? What is happening over there? And then you explain. So yeah, can you explain what happened in that moment?
I don't think it was even, we were doing a writing exercise and we were sharing, and I don't think it was even what I had written about. Somebody else was sharing their story. And you were referring to the mirror, basically, and how a lot of our aggravations or whatever issues we may be having with other people are simply projections of ourselves, that may be something we're not addressing. And that was huge, because I think I was always somebody who was, I guess, trying to fix a relationship I have with someone, and I never consider fixing myself. It's always like, how can I reach this person better, but not thinking about changing myself. So I think that was my first time I realized that everything I need is within myself. And it just was a domino effect every time I thought about any relationship, because I have a lot of family relationships. Even I love my husband, he's amazing, but even thinking about that relationships and where our struggles are, not that our entire relationship is a struggle, but the things that I worry about. Mm-hmm. And just, it was like, oh my gosh, it's all within me. It's all me and my fears, I think, is what I realized, is that I'm living in so much fear within myself because I'm not letting myself live, basically. And it was, I can't even explain to you the moment. It was just, I couldn't stop the tears. But they weren't sad tears. It was like relief tears. It was just huge. And I think it was it got me to a level I didn't know existed. And now I find myself there often. And it's great. But that was the first.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous goosebumps right now.
Yeah, and I didn't even know how to speak. I didn't know how to explain what was going on in my head. And like you said, doe eyes, like, what? And yeah, just realizing that I don't have to. I see people, and I imagine if they're at a certain level that, oh, they're so much better than me. Like, that's not me, or an unworthy maybe. But that's when I realized that no, it's simply not true.
That's powerful. That I think that moment is, I too had that moment for myself, and I don't know like how to facilitate that. I don't think we can. No. Right? You were primed. You were so, like you said, you were so ready to hear that you already knew. It was just like this reminder of something that was already true. It made the puzzle
pieces come together.
Right.
Yeah. And it was definitely, I can't even explain it.
That's okay.
I lost the thought, but it was.
Those are the best things, I think, the ones we can't fully explain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I will forever remember that moment, because to me, in that moment, it was like this whole retreat was worth it, just because of you. Seeing your face and truly feeling that. Yeah. I mean, because those are the moments that, like you said, it's a domino effect. Mm-hmm. And I know that I've had them myself, and what you explained is like, it's your sense of power that you take back, and you go, I get to like, this life is malleable, and I get to create whatever I want with it, and it lies within me, and no longer am I a victim. It's like, oh, these relationships are, it all, and it's not always necessarily fully true that everything's your fault.
No,
right? But you have responsibility in it somehow.
Yes.
And you have, it's like an empowerment.
Right. Yeah, I think that was my biggest thing, is I was always, I was stuck in the pain because I was very disassociated with it all, because there was a lot of my life that I was like, well, something is much worse for somebody else, so I would just push away. However, that issue within that relationship was still there, but I was trying to act like it wasn't there or whatever. But whatever happened had happened, and I was still carrying it with me, but acting like it wasn't there. But so in that moment, it was a realization that, okay, so it happened. Like, why is this still having such an effect on me now? And just being able to identify that led me to my next thing to work on, I guess. And it was good.
That's great. So from that moment, 8 months ago until now, I've seen you grow so much, and I haven't even been really around you a lot. It's like when you come to the workshops, when we have our group text, when we meet for coffee, things like that. You can't not notice when someone is growing, and shining. Like, literally, I can feel it. So can you explain maybe what has unfolded, whether it's the last 8 months or even just like the last year or so of your life?
Right. I would say so many ups and downs, like the lowest of the lows, but they also come with the highest of the highs. And I would say it's been honestly, the biggest shift has happened these past couple weeks or month or so, because I am now embracing the uncomfortableness. I'm falling in love with fear, like addressing things that I would never do because I didn't think I was capable of, or worried about what other people will think. And I think I've just had realization after realization because my blindfold is off. Simple thing. The smallest thing, as when I texted you yesterday and said, I'm an early person, like that's my way of making sure that nothing goes wrong, or I have time to fix whatever does go wrong. But just me saying that out loud made me realize, like, that's why I'm so stressed when it comes to us, what time we're leaving or whatever. And all these things that I know within myself that I just didn't see. And it like click, 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 like everything's starting to make sense almost. And I am just really realizing what I truly could be capable of, that I don't know why I never thought that I ever was. Like, I always saw myself like basically in a crater of the earth, like very low, and everybody else was up on that pedestal, and all of this access that there is to growth or to just the happier life wasn't an option. There was just zero access, and as I pull myself out of there, I think it's incredible. And what I'm really realizing is that you hear from a lot of people who are on the other side of it, or there's people who talk about it to help people grow, and people can use that as a resource, but I feel like you don't hear from many people who are in it. And I'm so deep in it right now, it's terrifying. But that's why when I created 815 Mamas, it snapped me out of it so fast. Like the second I went live my first time, it was like, whoa, like you did that. Like you created something huge. And this weekend it's going to break 1,400 people in the matter of 3 weeks maybe? Mm-hmm. I can't even explain to you the outlet that has become for me. I'm going to get emotional about it right now because it's just been my biggest availability for growth. And right in front of me, like it was there within myself. And it's amazing to me that I see all these people struggling or going through life that I so badly just want to be like, listen, let's tap into you together, or like, listen to me. Like, I can't even explain it. There's no words. It's just, it's been a whirlwind. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
It's, these past, I would say December was probably one of my lowest points. And by March, I'm like, I can conquer the world. Tomorrow that could be a different story, but right now I can conquer the world. Right.
But there is something about reaching that high that even if you go back low again, you can't unfeel this.
No. And my low lows are what brought me to my highs. So even when I'm in my low, as much as I can't see, there's no rainbows or sunshine. Like when I'm in my low, like life is hard, life is bad. And I even question, will I be able to tap back into that? Or have I slipped back into this hole? But knowing that I was in this low before, and that's what got me to the high. So I just sit back and embrace it as much as I can now, because I know that that's what's going to teach me my next thing. That's going to be what gets me to 815 Mamas. That's going to get me to put pen to paper and write a book. Not that I will, but it's just knowing that it's going to get me to that next step, like to that next level. It makes the lows different. It's an opportunity, I guess, now. And I never would have seen that coming before.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said, it's like the lows aren't even like, it's not like, oh, just get through this so you can get back up to the high. It's like, this is literally here for a purpose.
Embrace
to strengthen you.
Yeah.
And like you said, the lows feel different when you go at them with open arms. Like, that changes everything.
Yeah, when I was in my lows before, especially as a mom and a new mom, like, I have everything I ever wanted. And then I was in this low at the same time, and I felt so much shame for being in that low spot. And just like, come on, let's get out of it. You have to be strong. You have to be strong. When in all reality, being strong and trying to get over it was only damaging because it was just stuffed down. It will come back up. You have no control over it. And once I accepted it, at least, I realized that everybody will have lows. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, you will have a low. And just, it doesn't make me a bad mom because I'm having a low moment. Like, of course not. And not to mention, I think I have a daughter. Like I said, she's 2.5 now. I want her to know she can have lows too. Like, I don't want her to just see mommy disappear and then come back happy, like, not that I want her to see me crying either, but at the same time, I want her to know that that's okay, and to watch me get the strength to get through it from embracing it, because I never want her to stuff her feelings down. So why would I show her me stuffing mine down just so mommy can be okay? Like, no, life is hard. And I tell her that it's like now the same, like, she's 2, so she has meltdowns. But I just tell her, like, Kinsley, it's okay to feel this way. Go have a minute. And maybe putting her in her bed to have a minute is hard at the moment, but literally within 2 minutes, she'll come out happy, just because she had a moment to sit with her feelings and not feel shame for feeling those feelings. And it's crazy that she can do that because she's seen me do that. And now when she's having a little bit of a hard time, she'll even tell me, Mommy, I just need a minute. I'm like, okay, Kinsley, like, you do whatever you have to do, and then she'll be fine. And I think it's so beautiful to not find shame in those low moments, like, and to see it come full circle at 2.5 years old. Like, it's something that I'm proud of. And I can say I've never been proud of myself, nor would I think that low moments would be what I'm proud of. But here we are.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just at my self-love workshop, and that's, yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about it because it's very fresh. It was 2 days ago.
It's very fresh.
But that idea of setting the example for your children is so powerful, because that's literally how they learn. Mm-hmm. And like you said, and I'd love for you to talk about this too, it has to be so hard as a parent to know what the example should be, because it is probably your initial instinct to want to hide the weaknesses and say, like, I'm fine, right? Like, put on the happy face or the strength. Yet we know that that's not realistic. If your child is human, which most of them are, I think. Some people have fur babies. They're going to have really hard emotions. It's going to be complicated. And to equip them with not only the strength, but like you said, like the openness, the willingness to feel their feelings, the space, the permission to feel all the stuff and not feel shame around it is so incredibly important. So the fact that you're stepping into that conscious parenting, I think, is incredible, which is why I love that you have this 815 Mamas group on Facebook, and that it's growing, because that's one of the most important roles that there is in the world, is to be a parent, and specifically to be a mother.
Right. I think we have so much pressure on us as moms to be perfect. And it's not just perfect for everybody else, but you want to be that perfect parent to your children. And any sign of not being that perfect parent makes you beat yourself up big time. However, that's also what's being demonstrated to our children is, okay, we have to be perfect. And I think it's huge to also recognize that we are parenting from a place of our own agenda and not tuning into what our children really need. That when even I'm huge with my daughter with saying please and thank you. And even something as simple as that, like, that's me. I was raised by my grandparents, so we're a little old school. And manners are huge. Like you have to say please or thank you. You have to open the door. And that, to me, obviously, that's raised by my grandparents. That's how I feel it should be. But I also need to recognize that my daughter will have moments where she's not going to say please because she's not capable of it in that moment. And I need to push my own agenda to the side and realize that she's not going to be perfect. She doesn't have to say please or thank you in this moment. And like I said, that's very small level, but it's huge to recognize as a parent, especially when you're trying to, let's say you're extremely athletic. So when your child is growing up, of course, that's what you're going to do. You're going to put them in sports, yada, yada, yada. And what if your child is an artist and we're simply not paying attention to their uniqueness because we're so set on our own agenda? So then your child maybe denied the opportunity to flourish in whatever it is because they are unique. They are not you. And we think we're doing what's best because that's what was best for us. But I think it's huge to recognize that just because it's what was best for us in that time isn't exactly what your child needs. So yeah, that waking up into that conscious parenting and realizing that. And to take it further, I feel like I am so in tune to things like that because I was a very sensitive child. My relationships with my family were hard, and it made me touchy to everything. So as hard as that was as 6-year-old Robyn, I'm so thankful for it today because it means that I can recognize this within my daughter now. So as much as I've been living from this pain from my childhood, let's say, it's so crazy to see that flip and like, you know what, thank you. I was in whatever moment it was that taught me this lesson because now my daughter doesn't have to go through the same lesson because I can provide it to her. And it's crazy. Like I needed to become a mom to wake up. And so here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much there.
I don't even know what I just said, to be honest.
That's okay. It was beautiful, Thanks. Just so you know. I always, as I listen, because I edit the clips out and I put those separately other places, and so as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, there's a clip, there's a clip, there's a clip, which means just it's all good. Yeah. But that, I think what's interesting, what I've thought a lot about lately, and when I went to speak at Harlem High School recently, speaking to high school students, and specifically my little sister was in the classroom, so I was like talking to her, right? This idea of conscious parenting paired with the knowingness that your adversity made you who you are today. You just said it, right? You're grateful for the sensitivity, the pain, the difficulty, the lows. So how do you, as a parent, and obviously your oldest is only 2.5, right? So we've got a long way to go.
Not an expert.
Yeah, and I didn't even mean it like that, but like she hasn't had an opportunity to feel that much adversity yet. And so talk about, even grade school, then into high school and college in the 20s, and it's going to be so hard. Just for all of us, right? And so I think about that because I think that's got to be the hardest struggle for a parent, especially if you're conscious of your own pain and you are trying your best to help guide your children. How do you help guide them? How do you currently, and how do you intend to do this in the future, to allow them to have their adversity, knowing that that's going to make them who they're meant to be, knowing that's going to build their strength, and also guide them into a beautiful, happy, safe life. Right. Because it's not going to be safe, right? But you don't want them to go drink and drive. Right. You don't want them to get pregnant before they're quote unquote ready, right? Or get someone else pregnant if it's a boy, right? So like, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, how do you parent knowing that actually their adversity is really, really good for them, but your natural tendency is to protect, right? I think that's gonna be a learning experience for me as well, all throughout the process of them growing. But I think just constantly reminding them that this doesn't feel good, and it's not going to feel good, and that things in life are not always going to feel good. But just sit back and take whatever negative feeling you're feeling in, because this won't be the last time you're going to feel this way.
And learning how you deal with it will only help you in the future. And that if we just tell them, oh, everything's going to be okay, things like this happen, life goes on, sure, but it doesn't take away from the way they're feeling right now. And I think a lot of us just want to make everything better for our children all the time. Of course we do. But at the same time, that's denying them that opportunity to learn a little bit about themselves in the state of negativity. So I think that if, as much as I now embrace my low moments, help them do the same, and just simply, and they may at the time just say, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. And okay, you need that, you need to go have your time. And then one day, even if it's not in that moment, one day they will be in a situation and they'll bring themselves there. It's planting a seed, and then there's going to be an opportunity for that seed to bloom, and they'll look back and I'm like, oh, okay. Even if it's 30 years from now, just letting them know that it's okay. And bad things will happen, and we can't control it, and that's something that scares the crap out of me as a parent, because some things may happen that should never happen, and in those moments you can't say that you'll be thankful for it or whatnot, but just constantly support and find a way to... I realized something at the workshop the other night that I don't think I've ever known unconditional. So I think the best thing I can do for my children, like now I do, because it's what I feel for my kids. So, and just to know that no matter what happens in life, I know there's at least one source of unconditional love, and that's me. But also try to teach them that unconditional love for themselves through the hard times. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, yeah. It does. I think it does. Just knowing, like you said, I think it's part like telling them very clearly, like whatever you're going through, like feel it. Mm-hmm. And it might be really painful, but just allow yourself to feel it. You're also showing them that through your own example, right? You're not just saying do it and then you shove your feelings down. Right. You're showing them by example. And then the other piece that obviously as life goes on, like you said, it's going to be a learning experience, is to allow them to make mistakes and not try to fix it for them right away. Right. And that might be hard, especially if it's like, something specific, like say your daughter gets a girlfriend or a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Whatever it is, has a relationship that it's not that you don't agree with it, but maybe you even have a gut instinct that's like, ooh, this is not a good choice. Do you... like how can you find it within yourself to allow her own journey? You have to, because she will find her way to her journey irregardless. So it can be with me by her side, or it would be with her resenting me because I'm not allowing her to have that journey. I think we're all meant to have certain journeys, and if I deny her journey, then she will have it one day, and I would rather be there to help coddle her when she falls, and because you can't stop heartbreak. You can't stop, like as you said, we all come out unscathed. Like that's not possible. Like we all have something. And so she will have her things, and maybe it'll even be because of me. Maybe it'll be something I do because we are all so unique that, maybe just because I do something I think is best, it's going to become clear that it wasn't. And I just think that, I don't know where I was going on that tangent. That's okay.
But I think, you can't deny that. You have to let them fail. Yeah. And as a parent, your child should never fail, especially when they're still under your roof, so to speak, but that's naive. They will fail. Mm-hmm. There's not a single human out there who has been alive their whole life that hasn't failed. Right,
and like we just said, so we're acknowledging that the failure is actually like a very important piece.
Yes, yeah, it's their opportunity for growth. Yeah. So Yeah, as hard as I can say that now, but when she's 16, let's say, and in her first relationship, that might be a whole different story.
Or driving,
right.
Like, oh my gosh, like I don't have children, but I have young nieces and a nephew and siblings, and it's like when my siblings started to drive, like I watched my little sister drive away by herself for the first time ever. I walked her to the car, walked up to her window, and I was just like I wanted to be like, just be careful, you know, and I was just like, bye, have fun. Like, let me try not to be crazy in this moment, because I know the mistakes I made. Like, I crashed my car the first day I had my license. So you make these mistakes, and you want to like share it with them, and I think there's value in that. There really is, in sharing what you went through. But it's also like, well, I went through that and then I learned from it, so maybe you have to make your own and then you'll learn from yours. You always hope that it's not like really physically dangerous.
Yes, absolutely.
But even with that said, some near-death experiences allow for people's awakening.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just a complicated conversation.
And it's not up to me, whatever it's going to be that she goes through. I have no control over that. So that's hard to accept as a parent.
I bet.
Yeah, but
also in a way maybe a little bit relieving, knowing that it's not your responsibility to control her journey, because you can't.
Right.
Some freedom in that.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about your group, because I really want to know, so first of all, I saw you the day you started it, right? We met at Panera.
Yeah.
And you started this kind of on a whim. I know you had been thinking about doing it, but you just kind of jumped in. You're like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm making this thing happen. And so we're talking about a Facebook group, which you started, and it's like a community for moms in the 815 area code area and beyond, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, for me to see, it's so cool, because it's something that I literally could not start myself, because it's for moms, and I'm in the group, but I'm not a mom. But I love to watch the engagement, because it's just like there's so much of it.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's taking part. There's so much conversation going on, and I'm curious to know, like, what was your intention starting this group? I know you said it's been like a huge outlet now for you, because you go live a lot.
Yeah.
You share a lot, and so do they.
They do.
Right? That's so cool.
Because it's a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what, I guess I wouldn't say what's the intention, because there doesn't have to be one, other than I want to start a group and see what happens.
Right.
Right? But what have you seen come up for yourself and maybe the other moms that is like the most prevalent need, I guess?
I would say a lot of moms, at least I know myself and others in the group included, we're all so desperate to connect, because we're all in a place we've never been before. It doesn't matter if it's your first child, your fifth child, like it's somewhere you have never been. And I think there's a certain level of becoming a parent in whatever aspect, step parent, adoptive, you had your children. It's taking it to that next level of life that's like, whoa, you think you can anticipate it, and then you're there, and what do we do now? And I know myself, I clung to those that I knew would support me, but sometimes they didn't understand, because, as you said, they're not moms now or anything. And so I think it was incredible for a while there. Any new mom that I talked to, or a friend of mine that maybe we hadn't connected in a while, but now we're both in the same area, let's say, and we both have small kids, and we're like, oh my God, let's hang out, please. Like, it was amazing to see how many other moms were craving this as much as me. And then there was actually a post that you posted that said, I love you, best friend, and tag your best friend, and there was a stream of comments in there of moms who were craving that connection, and they felt that a big reason they didn't get that connection is because they are moms now. And it was that day that I was like, all right, enough's enough. Like, this has to happen. And I had the thought first popped into my head on a Sunday, and this was on a Friday. So a little less than a week had gone by. And it was myself getting in my own way to not do it. I was scared, obviously. I didn't want to put myself out there like that. But then when I saw those other moms saying this in your group, I was like, this isn't for just me anymore. Like, it's not fair that we could have this connection and it's being denied because I'm too scared. Like, no, we're doing this. So I was home with my sick kids. I was a mess, and it happened. And people connected to it so quick. And you can feel the relief within the group of, as moms find it, like, oh my gosh, there's this whole community of people that get me, or I hope they're not afraid to put themselves out there and ask the questions, and find the connections. We're planning play dates. I've seen moms who have children with medical issues going on, and they they're just at a loss at that time, and then all of a sudden there's another mom who's going through the same thing, who's also alone or maybe a few years ahead, that can help this other mom. And it's a beautiful thing to see these connections being made just because I put a 2-minute live video out there. Like, it's amazing how much can happen if we get out of the way. Because honestly, I could have put that 2-minute live out there and then stepped away, and this group still would have formed to be as beautiful as it is today, because it was so needed. It was so, so desperately needed for these moms in this group. And yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. And to see the support giving back too, because I think as much as we all crave growth or are in these hard positions and need help, we also want to help others. So I know for myself, that's what I found so beautiful in it, is that, like, that's what lit me up. I was glowing that week, like, because I felt like I was reaching people. Or even if it wasn't myself that's helping this mom, like, it's still, I provided this outlet for these people, and I just thought it was amazing, and it still is amazing. We're gonna hit 1,400 people. Like, what? That's 1,400 moms out there who needed this and now have it. And if it's something like I could have had a few years ago, like, wow, it's great. Yeah.
All because you faced your fear.
All because I faced. And that's, I think, part of, going to a lot of your workshops it was facing a fear every time, because I don't know who's going to be there. What do I wear?
You came by yourself.
Yeah, and eventually I realized that was dwindling away because I was becoming more comfortable in the environment. Switch it up, and then, I'm scared again. But that was definitely a biggest fear, and thinking that I wasn't capable. And then to address it was like, whoa, what am I afraid of next? Like, let's go do it. Let's jump out of a plane. I don't know. But it literally, like I said, it's making me fall in love with fear, because it wasn't until I did what I was so afraid of that made me see myself in a different light. It made me realize I am worthy. Watching these lives back of myself, like, when I just say it out loud, and then you leave and you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. Ooh, what about this? What about that? I'm going to do it as soon as I leave here, probably. But being able to see it played back to you and hear yourself and see yourself on that next level, whoa, that wasn't so bad. Like, good job,
Yes.
I think it's cool, because it was, I think, one of the first things that made me realize I am capable. And it made me step into a whole new level of being a parent too, because it made me realize before maybe I was afraid of failing as a parent, and now I'm like, no, I have it. I've got what it takes, because I addressed that one fear. Like, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to hear you say this, like this idea of falling in love with fear, because it unlocks something within you.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps.
Yeah, so do I. I don't think they've gone away this whole conversation. Just like I'm hearing you say it, and I'm replaying when I first started, like, putting myself out there and going live and being terrified. Yeah. And then what you're saying, I've never really talked about this, but like you said it, watching yourself back on those live videos, it, like, I think the internet and going live and like doing videos and stuff like that and putting them out there and then being able to watch them back, podcasts too, it's like adding a whole new level to our consciousness, because you're able to witness yourself from a third person, like, perspective, and objectively observe, like, what you're saying, what you're doing, and then you do realize, like, of course you're going to judge yourself. Of course you're going to be like, well, why did I say that? Or I should have said this, like, after we leave here, whatever.
And those things that I worry about, then I see it played back. I'm like, oh, you didn't ramble on too much about that. Like, I'm glad you kept going because you said that. And then it's like, okay, like, I'm somebody who I always need validation, or I'm always looking for, and it's never from myself. I'm waiting for somebody to be like, oh, that was good. And until I get that, I'm like, nope, that wasn't good. That wasn't this. But being able to see that back was a point of my own validation. And that was also something, another puzzle piece settling into place, was realizing that I could get validation from 20 people, and then it's like, well, how come 30 people didn't say it? You know, like whatever it could be. But until I got that validation within myself, all of a sudden the craving was gone. And it was, oh, again, me. This is what I want. I want to be comfortable in my own skin. I want that confidence. And it's something that I've been denying myself. And this might be something I'm just now realizing too, like how much and this is part of, I think, the first women's retreat as well, how much we crave. And maybe we craved it as a child because it is something we needed as a child. But now as we're adults, even if you were to, let's say you had an issue in a relationship with your mom. So now as an adult, you still like crave a certain relationship with your mom. And let's say you get that fulfilled, like, and all of a sudden you have this wonderful, you still have that hole. It doesn't fill the childhood hole. Only you can fill that hole in now. So I think, just being able to put that together and say, it's another confirmation of, whoa, this is all up to me. No one else. Me. It's cool.
Oh, so glad you're here.
Me too.
So glad you're here. In case you needed some extra validation, I know you've got it from yourself. But yeah, everything you're saying is like, yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And I agree with all of it. I resonate with all of it. I feel all of it. Yet I've not said it in the way that you just said it. So thank you for saying it like that.
I don't think I've heard it that way either.
It's beautiful. It's amazing what can come through, right? When you're just like, here I am. I'm just going to show up. Yeah. Like, we didn't prep for this.
No. And that was what I was afraid of. Like, I'm not, literally a thought that went through my head is like, I don't have anything to bring to this. Maybe Kylie doesn't have anybody else to talk to. Like, is she desperate? Is that why she's asking me? But then again, like, now I'm here and I'm saying these things and I'm thinking of all these people who can hear these things that hopefully will resonate with them. And now it's like, you are capable. Again, just that extra, like, you do have things to share, and everybody does. It's just believing in yourself. Yeah. And until you do something that makes you believe in yourself, you will always live in a state of fear.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's, I think, super important too. Like, anyone listening right now, if you take one thing away, it is like this wanting, this feeling, right, of like, I'm enough. We actually have to do the things that we don't think we're capable of doing.
Yeah, you have to prove it to yourself.
Right. You do.
You'll never prove it to yourself if you don't do.
Yep. So, and I think a lot of people might think, well, that's not unconditional love then. That's not pure acceptance of who you are. I think that that's actually, in this human form, it's the only way that you can actually get there, is to prove it to yourself.
Right. And I think it's not that you're not unconditional, it's just you're learning ways to love yourself more. Like, if you're there, like, you can, unconditional love is limitless. So as much as you can unconditionally love yourself, you can love yourself more. Like, yes, it's enough right now, but life is all about growing. So you're going to grow to a new capacity, and you're going to love yourself more through that. And every time you do something to prove that to yourself, you're just allowing yourself for more and more and more. And it's, there's never enough. Like, you will always be able to have more too.
Yeah.
And that's also beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the most beautiful way. It's like that phrase, there's never enough, right? I have this new tattoo, it says, I have everything I need. And that's what you're talking about. It's like, I do have everything I need right here, right now. But do I want more of it? Because it feels really freaking good? Yes.
And what you want more of, though, is within yourself. So as much as you want more, you still have more because it's you, and you always have you. That's one thing you will never lose, is you. Right now, I just fell in love with myself a little more. Like, it's, yay! Yeah, like,
me too.
It will always,
I fell in love with me and you. Yeah. That's what I love about conversations like this. Well, okay, so let's shift gears to start to wrap up a little bit, although we could talk forever. And we have future plans to maybe do a group conversation and bring Sheila in, and just there's
that
so
girl
many.
has a lot to say.
Yeah.
I can't wait until she says it all too.
I know. And there's a lot coming in the future. So I look forward to seeing what you do with your group. I will make sure to link your group. So if anyone's listening to this or watching and you are a mom in the 815 area, or like I said, beyond, then you can join 815 Mamas.
Yep.
And I just can't wait to see what you do with it. And I love that it's there because, like I said, it fills a void, I think, that I wasn't able to provide for my group. Because it's not, I'm not a mom, so I can't give the specific support that you can.
Yeah, I think my main realization when I started this group is that motherhood can be so isolating, especially if you're going through things that you're denying yourself to feel, and you're in a world that nobody else understands at that time. But if you have a community where you can connect over it or know that you're not alone, it takes that isolation away and turns it into an outlet of connection, and that's what we all crave. So it can take something so heartbreaking, and it can form beautiful relationships. It can, even if it's just within yourself or other people. Just having that space of changing something so heartbreaking and isolating and making it fulfilling is amazing. It
is.
Yeah.
And I know I said we were going to wrap up, but although we have enough time to get this out there. Right. So before I ask my final question, and this could go on for, say, 5-10 minutes, whatever, I'm not trying to restrict you, but I think it's important. If I didn't ask this, I would regret not asking it. So for you, and I know you shared this a little bit in the group, what was your pain? What was your struggle? Like, that you felt so isolated? Like, could you describe what that felt like when you're a mom feeling isolated?
It is first of all, it starts with spiraling. It could be one thing that sets you off, and it could be minor, it could be huge, it could be, for myself, now I can look back and recognize what my triggers were, but at that time it was whenever I felt incapable, or I had these expectations on myself. Everybody does, of how motherhood is going to be. Well, it's never that way. And in those low moments, you feel you're supposed to be a certain way as a mom. So whenever you're not that way you're supposed to be, you're a failure. And the last thing you want to fail at is being a mom, because it affects your children, the things you love most in life, and you feel like you're crushing them, you're letting them down because you're not meeting this expectation. And so for me, it was just a instant spiral, and it could be something as small as, my daughter won't eat, and now she's eating cereal for dinner. Oh my God, that's too much sugar. Oh my gosh, oh my God. And then it goes from my kid eating cereal for dinner to, I'm the scum of the earth. I can't do this. How do I run away from it? Would it be better if I wasn't here for her? It changes so fast, and my brain didn't recognize that that's not real. Like, I'm spiraling and thinking these thoughts that aren't true, but my brain thinks they are true. And so the next thing I know, I'm there, I'm low, and my husband, he's heartbroken for me because he doesn't see that. He was like, "You are amazing." Like, what are you talking about? And until you're there in that moment, you don't get it, and there's no way to explain it. And it's just, and that's what's so isolating about it, is there's nobody that you can explain it to that will get that either. Like, you're just there, you're low, and people will tell you that it's not true, but in that moment, it is true. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. My kid ate cereal for dinner. Like, you can't take that away. It happened. So that's true. So it brought all these other thoughts to be true. And it was, a lot of times it happened in the middle of the night, like during a feeding session or something. And so then you're also like, the one person who would get it is sleeping and I can't reach them, and then it just makes things fall apart even more. Or let's say I did try talking to a friend about it, and everybody just wants you to feel better. So everybody will say things to make you feel better. And then in that moment, I'm irritated. I don't want to feel better. There's nothing you can say to make this better. So then forget about it. You're not saying the right things, And then it just adds to your frustration. And you're trying to figure it out at the same time. And the fact that you can't figure it out, it makes every aspect of life a dark, deep place. Mm-hmm. But then one day you pull yourself out of it and you'll okay, whoa, that was a little extreme, Robyn. Like, it's okay, your kid had cereal for dinner. Like, that's not the end of the world. And then you'll feel kind of silly. And then there's some shame that you let yourself go to that place over something so simple. But again, there's a recognition that you can't control it. It's chemicals in your brain. Like, there's nothing, especially women going through the hormonal change after having a baby, like, zero control. Accept it. Like, you're there, you can't control this spiral, so be there, feel it. And now with this group, hopefully you've made a connection with somebody that you can reach out to. And it doesn't have to be isolating. And it can be, we're low right now, but we'll get to the other side of it. Even if it means you have to go for coffee in the morning and get away for a little while, you now have somebody who you can go get coffee with, or whatever it may be, to make it not so scary.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part, and the fact that I'm so grateful for the internet and your group, your group's existence, is like, knowing that you're not alone, I think, can really at least help dissolve some of the shame around it. And especially when you share specifics, right? If you're like, my child ate cereal for dinner, or had a candy bar for breakfast, or I was late taking them to school, or whatever the specific is, then one other person can read that and be like, okay, we brought our darkness into the light. Yes. It's not that big of a deal.
There's so many different sides of it too, because you can have another mom be like, oh, thank goodness, my kid had Twizzlers off the floor. Like, and then, like, it's somewhere where you can, but then maybe another mom would also say, like, hey, my kid does the same thing. I get this specific type of cereal. So if you're in that position, like, you also have room for advice, or room suggestions of, my kid did the same thing. This is what, and I think it's great. Just it's constantly planting seeds as a parent, because just because maybe you're not in that situation on that same night, a week from now you may be, and you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, that person from that group said we could try, and it's that throughout all of parenthood. So it's opportunity for these mothers involved in the group.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to ask my final question. We'll wrap things up, and we'll say until next time. It's a two-part question I ask everybody, and that is, what's one thing that you want more of in your life right now, and what's one thing that you are currently trying to or wanting to come clean of?
Ooh, one thing. This is going to sound a little cliche. One thing I want more of is sleep. But in all reality, it is crazy the difference you feel when you're sleep deprived, which a lot of moms are. So not only are you going through this hard space, but you're in a space of sleep deprivation, but yet we feel guilty if we sleep because we're not with our kids, or we're not getting up throughout the middle of the night, or whatever it may be. So that is so maybe it's deeper than sleep, but maybe it's making myself a priority and doing whatever it is I need. And right now that's sleep. So yeah, just having those opportunities more. And something I am coming clean of, I think, is going, this happened at your workshop the other night. I've carried my pain around for a long time, and it's been unidentified, and it was identified at your workshop the other night. And coming clean of that, because I think I haven't been able to, because it's been a void, and I've been trying to figure out what it is. And I'm free of it now. It's going to take work, but it's there. I know what it is, and realizing that I can let that go. So that's what I'm working on, is coming clean of my attachment to my pain, I guess. And it wasn't recognized until then. So here we are, doing the work.
2 days ago.
Talking about it, yeah. Which is why I might be a little extra emotional. But
that's okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad you felt a realization like that.
Yeah, I was having a physical reaction to the realization, and it was incredible. Wow. So thank you, because I wouldn't have had that. I would have carried that pain around for who knows how much longer until we got here. So I'm grateful.
Grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
For sharing. Yeah. For being vulnerable and strong.
Yeah. Thank Thank you.
Thanks for being a conscious parent.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'll try to keep doing it.
You're doing great. You're making the world a better place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching. And please go check out 815 Mommas, Happy Healthy Women, and any future events that we have coming up. I'm sure Robyn will be there.
Oh, yeah.
She always is.
You'll see me.
And yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks, Robyn.
Thank you.
So good. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy life to hang out with me and my guest. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please feel free to share it with a friend, anyone who you think could benefit from this conversation. And also send me a message or a comment or an email, wherever you find me. Connect with me and let me know, why did you enjoy this episode? Did you have any aha moments? Were there any times where you heard us say something that you didn't even think about before? Just let me know so that I know that you're listening, and I just really appreciate your feedback. So I look forward to talking to you all next time. Thanks again. Bye.